March 15th, 1848, a 25-year-old lyric poet named Petőfi Sándor stands on the steps of the National Museum in Budapest, Hungary. Behind his back, beneath glass, anthropological artifacts attest to an ancestry on whose behalf he speaks. To the nation, the mob, the throng, the would-be revolutionaries, to them he speaks. He slams. Talpra magyar, hi a haza, itt az idő most, vagy soha. Rabok leszünk, vagy szabadok, ez a kérdés, válasszatok. A magyarok istenére esküszünk, hogy rabok tovább nem leszünk. And when he finishes, a revolution begins, because that is the power of a poem that not once mentions the problem. The whole thing, all 6 verses, all 156 words, he never once pouts, complains, fusses, gripes, grumbles, bitches, whimpers, or whines. In fact, the only negativity in the poem is when he says, a bottom-feeding bastard is the man who wouldn't have the guts to die, who values his piece of shit life more than his nation's sacred honor. And for the record, yeah, I think that young black fathers dying at the hands of young white cops in BART stations in Oakland is fucking absurd. But I can't remember the last poem I heard that told me what to do about it. I want to hear the poem that tells me to eat healthy, to read some nonfiction, to tell my brother that I love him, to call my senator, or just to pray. And I'm not saying that we can't point out what's wrong, but when we end our poems there, the would-be revolutionaries just stand there, shaking their fists, making noise, and accomplishing jack shit. So in light of not recent events, I am proposing an amendment to the Poetry Composition Constitution. Whereas the war for hearts and minds has always been fought with language, and hearts and minds should belong to the bodies that contain them. And whereas poetry cannot produce change without accompanying action, we the people resolve to teach instead of preach, to rock a crowd with a purpose and ideas, to use our voices like open arms and battle cries, to stop pointing fingers and to start shaking hands. We'll become prophets instead of artists. We'll give birth to manifestations, to actualizations, to actions, to passions. And we, the people, resolve to make spoken word into more than just spoken words, to make our poetry nonfiction, and to make our poems begin when we end them.